Hello, it's Simon Zucchi here, and I'm the author of Property Magic, the Amazon property bestseller, and also the founder of the Property Investors Network, which is the largest organisation of property network meetings in the UK, designed specifically to help you become a more successful investor. In this short video, I'd like to explain the basics around purchase lease options. Now, this is a great strategy, or rather a tool, that you can use to control property that you don't own, and you can benefit from equity growth and cash flow without the need for a big deposit or even a mortgage on a property. Sounds good to be true? Well, this is one of the strategies we teach on our training programs, and in this video I want to give you an overview of how it works and how you can use them. So here's the concept. There are lots of people who've got property which they don't really want. They want to get rid of it. It might be mortgaged, it might be debt-free, but they don't want the hassle of the ownership of this property. So we step in and we take over control of the property. It's all done through contracts, through solicitors, all legal and above board, and we then can benefit from monthly cash flow and long-term equity growth. So let's give you a scenario here. Let's say someone who's got a property that's worth £100,000, and that's the true open market value for this property, and it's got a mortgage of, let's say, £98,000. Now, the problem this person's going to have is when they sell this property, by the time they take their legal fees and estate agency fees into account, they're not really going to make any money. That's if they sell at the full market price. In today's market, realistically, they're not going to achieve the full market price. They might get maybe £95,000, which means by the time they take the costs into account, they'll only really gain 93. And with a mortgage of 98, they're going to have to put a hand in their pocket to find £5,000 just to walk away from this property. So that's not really very good for them. And now you might think, why don't they just rent the property out? Well, maybe they've been a landlord before, or they haven't been a landlord. They don't want the hassle and the cost of it being empty and the risk, etc. So we can step in and say, look, we'll be happy to buy the property at the full market price, but in a few years in the future. We can't buy it right now. But in the meantime, we'll take on the property, we'll pay a monthly fee, we'll cover the insurance, the maintenance, so they can walk away and forget this property. Now, that's the benefit for them. Why might we want to do this? Well, let's say this particular property has got a mortgage, and at the moment interest rates are very low, and the mortgage on this might be as low as, say, £250. But this might be a property that we could maybe rent out for, let's say, £550. Okay, so mortgage £250, that's what we pay to the owner, and then rent for £550. So there's a difference of £300 here. Now, that's not all profit, because there's some cost to managing a property and maintaining it, insurance. But let's say this could make a profit of maybe £200 per calendar month. So you can make cash flow from a property which you control, but you don't actually own. You don't need a mortgage because we're using someone else's mortgage. Now, if this is already a buy-to-let mortgage, it's already owned by a landlord, that makes it nice and easy. If by any chance this is a residential property, we need to get what's called consent to let from the mortgage company to make sure they're happy that this property is rented out. Most lenders are okay, but we do need to get permission to do that. Some might want to increase the mortgage rate. Now, you can take on a property like this and rent it out and make a cash flow. You could actually take a normal house like this and you could potentially multi-let it and make maybe £500 to £1,500 profit every single month on a property you don't even own. But you've got the right to buy it in the future if you want to. And that's a really important point. We have an agreed amount of time, and it could be anything from a couple of months to a couple of years. Within that time period, you get to buy the property if you want to buy it. If you want to walk away, you can. Any properties we take on, we have the intention of obviously buying in the future, but it's great to know you don't have to if you don't want to. Now, you might think, is there some uncertainty there for the owner because we don't have to buy? Well, yeah, there is. But in the meantime, at least we've taken away the hassle from them. They haven't had to worry about the property at all. There are some other things you can do with these properties on purchase lease options. Maybe you can move into a bigger house in a better area, and instead of having to buy a house, you could move in on an option. So you'd be like a tenant moving into the house, but you've got the right to buy the property as well in the future. Or maybe you can find something like this that's outside of your area. You could package it up and sell it to another investor. So there are many different ways you can make money with an option. Unfortunately, the biggest problem with options is there's no set formula. An option can be anything you want it to be. It's all about finding someone who's motivated to sell, they're slightly flexible on the terms, and sitting down and just thrashing out a deal that works for them and also works for you. We always recommend you use solicitors, a solicitor for you and a solicitor for the seller, so that everyone knows exactly what's going on and they know what they're entering into. A lot of people talk about just downloading a contract from the internet, a copy and paste thing. Well, unfortunately, that's not going to work. You need to make sure things are done properly through solicitors. You also need to make sure you've got adequate insurance in place if you're renting a property out. So there's quite a lot to know about this, but in this video, I want to explain the basic concept to you and show you how powerful it can be. You can get equity growth and cash flow from property you don't own without a mortgage and without a big deposit. It's all about knowing how to find these people and how to structure the deals for a win-win scenario.